I am your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man.
Good morning.
Christmas rocks.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, you wonderful old filthy and alone!
Tony Caravan.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, not what you don't.
If you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me. And if you can't, you're only a nice man with a white beard, like Mother said.
Okay.
Oh, no!
It's the holiday season.
What did you think of that boing? YouTube Live. Your channel is live. Let's see what it says. Are you still watching? Then you're a greater fool than I. I can delete that. I can erase my junk mail. I can erase deleted items in all accounts. I could quit from my mail to reduce my CPU usage. I could look odd colorization-wise. It's 3:03 a.m. Eastern Time, the 14th of December, 1521. And I'm not deviating from that. Do you want to know what the weather's like?
The Weather Watch forecast.
Look at that. Look at that. You know what that is? What you're looking at? It's water vapor. Look at that spin still going on over in the Pacific Northwest. And you see these clouds like they're being like stopped by like mountain ranges. You see that? It's pretty interesting. There's some kind of thing going on off the coast of Florida. And then further out into the Caribbean. Things. Still mostly a southerly flow. You know, which is going to bring some warmer weather to a lot of parts of the country. In the mid-Atlantic states, for example, today, it's going to be sunny and 54 degrees, overnights above freezing. Wednesday, it's going to be 48 degrees, overnight 45. It's one of those days where the temperature probably never changes. On Thursday, there's a 60% chance of thunderstorms, and it's going to be 63 degrees, and it won't get below freezing either. On Friday, it's supposed to rain and be 50 degrees, and it'll stay above freezing. And Saturday, it's supposed to rain again and be like 55 degrees. So this entire week is going to basically be seasonably, unseasonably, I guess, on the warmer side. Though right now, it's about freezing outside of my studio. So that says a lot. There's talk of a blizzard and another storm next week. Windstorm.
The Weather Watch forecast.
I read, I'm no longer going to tell you about Bitcoin. I'm no longer going to tell you the news. I'm no longer going to tell you any of that bullshit. I glanced at the news for one last time. And it was so ridiculous that I couldn't even, I don't even know if I really want to repeat it. But I will, just for the sake of it, just because of the absurdity of it all. I know that word carries no weight anymore. By the way, the title card that brought you here, are you still watching? Then you're a greater fool than I. I'll leave that there for a while. So, they're still talking about this January 6th thing. Like, it's people in love with dates. Eventually, they're going to run out of dates. There's only 365 days, except for like a leap year or whatever. Right? It's like as all these old people start dying off, but they're all like, all these like politicians and pop stars and news people, because let's remember, news people are now famous, right? They're celebrities. Oh, such and such was on the air for 28 years, a veteran journalist. Give me a fucking break. Veteran journalist. What's the difference between, I just put a thing on somebody's website. If you're watching, let me explain that to you. This guy's name begins with a B or whatever. So the guy's got to dance, somebody dancing, let's go, whatever the guy's name is. That thing that happened at some NASCAR race or something. Like, who really cares and what? And a bunch of, hey, look at me, I could dance. That's like kid stuff. It's kid stuff. Look at me, I'm dancing. Hey, I'm J-Lo. I'm about like 66 years old with saggy tits, but look at me, I'm dancing. Who gives a shit? Who really gives a shit? Right? Hey, look at me. I'm Donald Trump. I have a gold toilet. I'm running for president and I'm going to save America. Yeah, right. You tried it. You had your 4 years. It didn't fucking work. Look at me. I'm, Dementia Joe. I used to have dementia, but now I get some kind of weird drugs from the White House doctors, and they give me blood transfusions with 18-year-old girls or something. And now I look like I'm like semi-sane. But my wife used to have to, remember, hold me by the arm and like walk me out the stage and then walk me off stage. And she would have to like correct my words and stuff. But now I'll walk out by myself. Yeah, look at me. Look at me. Look at you. Look at you. That's what I say to my cat sometimes. Look at you. Look at you. Look at you. Hey, Nancy Pelosi. You imagine what Nancy Pelosi looks like naked. Think of that body. What she would look like naked. Like sagged, wrinkled, and bizarre. I used to always have a thing about that. It'd be like all these, when I used to be like somebody who was like political. I'm not political anymore. I'm just critical. Because they're all fools and they're all ridiculous and they don't even fucking get it. Yeah, I'm a fool too, I know. But I used to have this thing is like, let's line up Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, and Joe Biden, and Donald Trump, and let's stand them there naked and just have the camera on them for like an hour on some TV channel. Just looking at the, the pure bizarreness of them. And why there needs to be term limits. Nobody over the age of 50 should be serving in anything, in Congress, anywhere. Nobody over the age of 55 should have a job. They should be retired. And these people sitting at home that are obsessed with, like, they can't figure a thing to do with themselves. So spending all their time on YouTube. Get something else to fucking do. They say, well, what about you? What are you doing? I'm a critic. You want to be a critic? Okay, you could come on YouTube. I'm a social critic. It's my job. I get paid tens of millions of dollars to do this, you fools. Didn't you know that? It's all a big charade. I get paid tens of millions of dollars to do this. All right? Millions. I have some people pay me in gold fucking coins, even, I say, because I don't know what to do with the cash. I got piles and sacks of gold coin, gold bars, silver bars. All right? Yeah, I do this because I'm trying to point this shit out to you. Don't you understand? It's the year 1521. Everything you know is wrong. You've been lied to. I tried to be rational with you, tried to play the game as if I was one of you. Right? Here, buy my shirt, buy my thing, support the channel. I'm tired of the charade. You know? Yeah, fuck. You insult your listeners and viewers.
Really funny. Really funny.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Some people get upset.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And away we go. What kind of intro is that? You don't know. You don't know anything. Right? I don't know anything. None of us know anything. I woke up this morning with like a blank slate. That's hard for you to understand. Maybe if you're some sort of psychologist or psychiatrist, you've got, you could examine this, right? Get your notebook out, your recorder or whatever, right? What's that thing I used to have on here? Somewhere. Hey, Mrs. Psychiatrist.
Tape deck alert. Tape deck alert.
What does this mean?
I am your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man.
What does that mean? So next we cut the weather out. That's the end of that then too. Right? I mean, what good is it? What did you really learn here? There's some clouds. There's some lines drawn on a globe. But the lines don't really exist, right? Because there is no country. And even when there was a country, it was the United States, but now it's a former United States. But what do those lines mean? Right? They're kind of goofy when you think of it in that perspective. Look at the little lines. Hey, this is where I am. This is my place. I got this stuff. And then people have like their little lines and their property lines. This is mine. 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 It's mine. How does one go mad so quickly? How does one go mad so quickly? Do you think it's possible to see something, to watch something, and have it drive you completely mad? To be that life-altering that it drives you mad? I think that's what happened to me last night. I think it drove me mad. I saw the truth about certain things last night. And there's no going back. Some idiot, I guess some a Biden administrative appointee, maybe the guy from FEMA or something like that. He said that the tornado was caused by climate change. You know what? And no reporter. I see the reporter really. Why doesn't somebody come back and say, Mr. or Mrs., or half of each, whatever the fuck you are. What exactly could you explain to our listeners? All right. For those of us who've been under a rock, right, since Al Gore was proven to be a blatant liar who just made $1 billion flying his private jet all over the place, spewing all kinds of shit into the atmosphere. But for those of us who've been under a rock since we've found out Al Gore lied through his fucking ass and teeth and nose and everywhere else, he's got shit coming out of his eyes and ears and everything. Could you tell us, for us type of people, what the fuck exactly is climate change? Right? What is it? Climate change is responsible for the tornadoes. Yeah, okay, fine. I'm open to suggestion. Sorry about the remarks about shit and stuff. I know that's, it's disgusting, but you're a human being. Get over it. What exactly is climate change? You're saying it's responsible for this stuff. What is it? Like, what the fuck is it? It's CO2 in the atmosphere and cow farts or whatever. That's not an answer. That's CO2 and cow farts. What the fuck is climate change? You're not giving me a straight answer. You're not describing something. It's not a description. All right? You're talking about other things. Some trace gases in our atmosphere. That's not an answer. Those are trace gases. 99% of the atmosphere of the Earth is the following: 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.9% argon. That's 99.9% of the Earth's atmosphere. All right? 99.9% of the Earth's atmosphere is nitrogen, oxygen, and argon. And then there are some trace gases. So now, I put it to you. What exactly are you talking about? Take the dick out of your mouth and tell me what the fuck climate change is. All right? It's 0.004 CO2 in methane. That's not climate change. Those are trace gases. 99.9% of the Earth's atmosphere is nitrogen, oxygen, and argon, and then there's some trace gases. Now, you've named some trace gases. I'm asking you a simple question. What the fuck is climate change? Take the dick out of your mouth and tell me what climate change is. And you, not that guy, you people watching, whoever how fuck you are, if there's anybody, or you YouTube monitors, algorithms. Yeah, I even talked to AI. I've talked to AI. I used to talk to AI. I wrote a fucking book back here about it. Where is it? We talked to AI for a while. It's in Codex. The fucking guys in OpenAI stole my fucking book title. Stole the name, using it for their company. Imagine that. My book was published like a couple years before they even fucking came into being. Yeah, I'm talking to you. And what are you? Who the fuck are you? What are you doing? What are you even watching this for? And what? Who even cares? Like, look at the fuck, right? Get out of my fucking house, man. All right? This isn't a video, YouTube video. You're in my fucking house. I can fucking see you, man. I don't want you here. Get the fuck out of here. All right? This is fucking entertainment. I'm here to amuse you. Yeah, I'm here to amuse you.
This is really funny. Really funny.
Funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you.
Yeah, I'm here to amuse you. Is that it? You people crack me up. YouTube. Tube. Where is it? You got any left? Or we throw them all away? Oh, here we go. YouTube. That's a tube for you little tiny people, just, student debt people holding up your placards and stealing things from stores. That's what a tube is. Or your people, you dancing away. Look at me, I could dance. Look what I'm doing on TikTok. Look at my tits or ass or whatever the hell these people are doing. Yeah, Merry Christmas. You people crack me up. Merry fucking Christmas, right? Merry Christmas, you old savings and loan.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
All right, so what do you do if you don't, the news is ridiculous. Like I said, January 6th, like who cares? What about I don't know, March 13th or something? I mean, what the fuck? Who gives a shit? Right? Who really gives a shit? People are crazy. See, what you people don't understand is, I know he's looking at this girl because all I want to do is fuck her when I look at her. Is that I'm gonna drive this home to people at 3:26 a.m. Eastern Time in the year 1521, calendar year 14 December. Okay? Everything you know is wrong, and you don't know what you don't know. Tornadoes weren't caused by climate change. It's not, you're not even you're mixing wrong words. You're defining a thing with something that isn't a definition. Do you understand? No, you don't understand. People don't know because they don't teach people stuff like that. Meteorologists don't even know. Right? It's like I tell you about half these doctors. They don't fucking know anything. They come out of medical school. They don't know jack shit. You go to your doctor, they don't know what they're doing. Half of them. There's some decent doctors out there, some normal people out there who understand stuff, but most people are idiots, man. I mean, I hate to say it, but let's face it. We're living on a planet of fucking idiots. Now, some idiots, it's not their fault. They've just been so, like, deprived of any kind of education or had their minds so fucking warped that they don't know what the fuck, up is down, left is right, inside is out. So you can't blame those 7 billion people. But then there's another 8 billion people that are just fucking idiots, man. And then the rest of us are just fucking mentally insane. We're all gone mad. There's nobody out there, right? I fucked a psychiatrist already, some chick. Do you know what I mean? They got as many problems as the next person, trust me. They're no special. Doctors aren't any different. I remember a philosophy teacher who was fucking crying his eyes out because he built a house and this big house for this woman and she dumped him. Mr. Philosophy, level-headed guy, great philosopher. Doctors who misdiagnose shit. Psychiatrists that are fucking out of their minds. They don't know what the hell they want. They can't even figure out their own relationships and all kinds of crazy ass problems they have. Soldiers have all lost their mind because of trying to deal with half the shit they do and just get back in the shit, because at least when they're in the shit, they're clear of having to think about the shit. Right? Armchair generals. People who can't deal with reality at all, so they follow sports or some sort of gaming thing so that they could constantly have their mind occupied or be, living out the life of some avatar-ish thing or some first-person shooter fuck. Right? And then all these criminal types who basically the smash and grabbers, right? And all these other psychopaths out there. And then politicians, what the fuck? It goes on in the heads of a fucking-tician, right? What the hell? Imagine the mind of Nancy Pelosi, right? Or anybody else. What the fuck are they thinking about? Right? What are they really thinking about? AOC. What is she thinking about? She's dancing around, bouncing her big tits. And she's got probably she's in the running for the biggest tits in Congress. They should have a contest in the House, right? Who has the biggest tits? See, there's not enough fun going on in this country, right? It should be tits on parade in Congress. Let's see. Okay, all the female congresswomen, come on up, come on down. Yeah, it would be come on down. Come on down. Right? And get that guy, if he's still alive, from whatever that fucking show is. I know they got the guy with the glasses on now, the former comedian. I was working on some weird radio talk show for him once for a very brief period of time. All right. He used to be tied in with Dick Clark. But anyway, that never panned out. So he's doing that show. So get him. Okay, we'll get him. The other guy's probably dead or whatever. But come on down, all you female congresswomen. Come on down. Come on down. All right. Take your overshirt off. Let's see with just the bras on. That's right. You too. Come on, AOC. Come on down. Now, shake them. All right. Now, you congressional pages there. Does someone have a tape measure in here? One of those waist tape measures. There's got to be some, limp-wristed fuck in here who's is in his whole life wants to be somebody that could measure the distance between a guy's crotch and his legs, wants to measure pants legs and get a job as in a clothing store. Somebody's got, come on, who's got it? Who's got the cloth tape measure? All right? So one of you do. Come on. There we go. Yeah, you. Come on over. All right. Let's measure those gazungas, those melons, those titties. Who's got the biggest titties in Congress? And you know what the sad part about it is that, the one or two people who actually watched this thing this far in, right, which is ridiculous, we're visualizing that.
It's really funny. Really funny.
Okay.
They're visualizing. Yeah, I'm dying. That's why I'm doing this show. So, who has the biggest tits in Congress? I wouldn't be surprised if if Nadler won. No one said we had to be sexist about this thing or at gender, have some problems with gender. Maybe Nadler's got the biggest tits. Is he a congressman? He's not a senator. He's a congressman, right? I think so. I don't know. I can't tell. And yeah. Congress. Congress. Think about that. I don't know, man. I'm just starting to look at this stuff. It's just so clear to me. It's so absurd. It's so ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense. Well, it does make sense. It's just that it makes too much sense. This is just some kind of like the lunatics, the planet Earth. We are basically it's an insane planet. Okay? It's a planet of pure insanity. It's like human beings have like I don't know. It's like it's just so weird. Somehow have like created some kind of hierarchical structure, or however you would pronounce that word. So that they could, rule over one another, right? I mean, it's finally reached a point of such like extreme bizarreness, weirdness. I mean, like I said, these words no longer mean anything. It used to be like, you could say, "This is insane," but you can't. You can't anymore. It's beyond insanity. Yeah, it's beyond insanity. Yeah, I'm still half awake. 3:38 in the morning, 3:37. I don't know. Does anybody know what time it really is? I see there's another update for my Mac, even though they won't, this computer is incapable of putting the new operating system in. But there's some kind of security update, but I question these security updates. There's some kind of like information gathering updates or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like a check to go through all of the software that you're using, and it's like to take a snapshot of what you have and what you're doing. And if there's anything in there that they don't want you to use, they will disable it. And someone would say, "Oh, that's like..." No, that's what they actually do. Hey, I know. I've been doing this. I've had Macs for 35 years. Yeah, 35 years. I keep trying to tell people that I've been on the internet for 35 years. I've been doing desktop publishing for 35 years. I've had a Mac for 35 years. I've actually had almost every Mac that they ever made. Actually. So we're over that visualization of the that congressional show. Theater, theater of the mind, man. See, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. You could take people on these trips, and whether they want to participate or not, they don't want to watch it. They don't want to listen to it. They're against it, right? But they can't turn it off just yet. You see? They need to stay tuned. And then they end up visualizing something like that. Yes, I'm crazy. Yeah. I don't know. But still.
It's the holiday season.
So you got to have a little bit of fun. Even if you use some naughty words, right? What are we going to say? Oh, no. Yeah, I know. It's sorry. Sorry about doing that. I don't know what to say. There's nothing else to say, really. So, none of us know what year it really is. Honestly. And even those who think they know what year it is, they even know that the year that they think it is a basically an arbitrary defined year, right? That was agreed upon in antiquity. And then of course you have, a Jewish calendar which goes even against the, so-called Roman or Western calendar, and then of course my calendar, which is saying it's like 1521. There's some other people say it's a different year. Chinese have a different way of, historically what year they believe it is and all of that. So what are the, what I mean? So even in your so-called like scientific or religious, spiritual or whatever means, you still don't know what fucking time it is. Right? You don't know what's going on. Yeah, you ever watch that vote guy, who's got like Moses, was it Moses or Abraham or the other one, went into a cave and found this dihold, which is basically the computer that controls the universe, creates this holographic universe. And it's the whole concept of, of Judaism and stuff, and that, you know, Moses was actually an Egyptian pharaoh. You know, I mean, it's crazy shit. I mean, there's so many fucking stories out there. You know, I was watching a guy a little bit yesterday, you know, and he's not the only one, but there's like so many people. Like, do you ever look at these statues, you know, of this guy was trying to get a point across, and you could go down a rabbit hole and find dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of people. Who knows, thousands, millions. YouTube has so many fucking things on it. But, you know, I've seen this woman, this New Earth. If you ever watch her, she's out there. She's, you know, she speaks with a strong accent, but she's got like, she, you know, she actually physically goes and visits a lot of these places. You know, it's not like, you know, the people, the talkers. It's like me, you know, like I say, I walk the walk. I don't just talk the talk, right? I've already traveled around the world, wrote 10 books, have 50 songs, done 500 videos. Yeah, I've been to all these places and shit, right? So when I say firsthand, I've seen things firsthand. And I tell these stories and give you these head trips and all this crazy shit. And you're like, guys, it's like, yeah, whatever. At least I've done something, right? I've been to these places. So I'm telling you the things are fucked up because I've seen it firsthand. You're like going, that's fucked up, man. That guy's fucked up. But you never been anywhere outside of like, you know, smoking or doing the old bong thing or whatever the fuck you're doing or taking something else. And I've done that too. Fuck. But anyway, this chick who does this New Earth is her channel. I think she kind of hides her name a little bit. I don't know. Some people like to keep themselves like secretive, right? I don't really give a shit because nobody I know watches. Like nobody. I mean, a couple people I know watch this, but like my family, they don't give a flying fuck about this shit. They don't use YouTube. They don't care about it. They don't want to watch it. They don't want to watch me, so they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? They've got their own lives and shit. They're either too old or too young, you know, or caught up living inside. You know, the young ones are living inside this stupid fucking device. The older ones are just doing their own thing. They don't want to believe that, you know, they're trying to live the norm, what's called the normal life. But anyway, so you got this one woman, this New Earth woman. You could go down her rabbit hole sometime. She's got a lot of information. But like I say, she actually has visited these sites and taken pictures. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like, you know, like people who just steal other people's material, right? Because that's nonsense. And you don't know, because it could be photoshopped, right? Or whatever. You know, or these people that take other people's stuff. I've been against that my whole life. Like I said, I've spent, I don't know how many, tens of thousands of dollars buying. You know, when I couldn't take a photo myself, or a certain thing, I would purchase it. I bought it. And otherwise I would, you know, or I've even had sometimes for magazine covers, some of my magazine covers, I often had photo sessions. I had to like rent, you know, I once had some girls on a cover. I don't have the thing handy. But I was doing it was like a Oktoberfest cover I was doing for one of my magazines. And I got these 3 girls, and I got a costume shop, and I got these 3 like Bavarian, you know, get-ups, you know, the type where they push the breasts out, the cleavage. And I got some other, you know, basically that blue and white kind of German type, you know, tablecloth typey shit. And went to this bar and I had them pour these pitchers in glasses and I set up the girls and I got some Bavarian pretzels, soft pretzel. And I set up this whole, scene because I wanted this cover to look a certain way. And I couldn't, in that instance, I couldn't even find a stock photo that I could buy that really would, I was willing to pay like maybe even $100 to some photo, to some place to purchase a photo, but I couldn't find anything. So I just did a photo shoot, found 3 girls, 3 waitresses. They were all into it. And, they got a cover for their portfolio, right? Here's a cover I did when I was in college. But that's the kind of guy I've always been. I've either taken the photo firsthand. That's like majority. Same with film footage. I've taken my own film footage, produced, did that stuff. Same with these things. Edit, create the set, do all that stuff. Or basically find if someone else took a picture, then legitimately purchase that photo. But of a real thing, I'm not going to not something questionable. And then otherwise I would go to the location, or set up a photo shoot. Or in one instance, one time I sent a guy take a photo of this ridiculous thing at nighttime that goes up, one of these tram things or whatever, and the guy was in some weird position to take it. He ended up breaking his leg. His leg was broken for I don't know how many weeks. I'm like, man, I didn't tell you to go hanging in some weird place to get that shot, So anyway, I gave him some extra money. But he had insurance, so it didn't matter. But the thing is, a lot of people don't. They just steal photos. The internet's free, right? Or they copy and paste stuff. Or they look something up on Google. Like I say, the only thing I'll look up on Google is something that's matter of factual that isn't under question. Because everything else is bullshit, lies, or advertised, or there's something fishy about it, right? So, the stock market, you could look that up on an app or on Google because they're not really going to lie about it because you could also just turn on Bloomberg or something and see the same number. Depends on your thing. The same with Bitcoin when I was doing that. I'm not going to give those things anymore. If you want to find Bitcoin out, just look it up. All I could tell you is to waste of time. But anyway, so this woman who does this New Earth thing, I haven't watched her in a little while. But then there was this other dude who was into some other stuff, but he started touching on this medieval times, kind of Renaissance. And he was showing some of Michelangelo, some of these sculptors. And you could even go back to some of the Greek, Greco-Roman, they call, stuff. But I mean, fast forward into the Renaissance when some of this really insane stuff. Michelangelo, man. And you've got some of these images and stuff, and it's they've got mesh. This, and I'm no great, I'm somewhat of an art historian and somewhat familiar with artists. I could put a couple artists side by side and I could probably tell you who they are or who they aren't or whatever, or group whoever together. But I'm no, that wasn't my specialty of study throughout my life. So I'm not, I'm no, that's not my thing, right? But it's an interest for sure. And I certainly have an appreciation for fine art. Not this stuff that people do that's basically furniture, you know. Could you do that in mauve so it'll look nice in our condo in Cape Cod? No, screw those people. And then the guy charges $30,000 for a fucking three various rectangles on a piece of canvas with the dominant color being mauve, and he charges him $30,000. And he frames it with like you know, what do they call that, float wood, or, you know, found wood, you know, from the beach or something. And they're having a dinner party and they're showing, oh, look, we got a such and such. And people are, oh, it's marvelous, right? And it's like, then the little kid comes out who's from the back, who's supposed to be sleeping, and goes, Mommy, it's just 4 squares on on the wall. 4 color squares. Go back to bed, kid. Anyway, so you got these marble statues, and they've got like mesh on them, or like pieces, a woman who's like got some kind of veil coming down over top of her skin. Yeah, because it's all religious stuff. So it's like, you know, and, you know, like a lot of that stuff. So it's all these things that, or like the pietà, you know, and the cloth around, you know, Mary's, you know, head, and the draping of the body and the clothes and the cloth just lying limp and stuff. You know, the guy's going like, you know, how the fuck did they do that? You can't do that shit. Right? No, people can't do that today. It's like they can't build a pyramid today. They can't even build they couldn't build the Roman aqueducts today if they wanted to. It was like I was watching this stuff about the World's Fairs of like 100, you know, 150 years ago and shit like that, 200 years ago. I mean, they've been doing World's Fairs. There used to be a big thing. They don't even do them anymore. And the idea is, and you know, but there's like images, because, you know, you had camera and stills, and then, well, even some people sketched right before the camera. But the camera's been around for a fucking long time. You know, 180 years or something like that, is it? Or it's longer than that. I think the first photo is like almost 200 years old. Yeah, something like that. The first primitive, right? So it's amazing the stuff that we actually have images of, right? And then photorealistic and paintings and, you know, sketches. But whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the idea of these things, you know. And you can't, there are not the best architects, engineers, right? Construction firms. It's not that they maybe could not do a thing per se, but they couldn't. It would, you know, it would be like beyond astronomical in cost and time and labor. It would be impossible. But these guys just did this shit, right? And it's like these statues and even the paintings, you know, the idea of the perspective. One guy was getting into how perspective came along, you know, around the Renaissance. That it wasn't as if the paintings prior to this, like, everything just happened like at once. That's why I'm trying to tell you that it's probably like the year 1521 or something like that. And people, we because it does, you know. And I'll expound on that in the coming years if I'm still alive. If we survive. You know, my biggest fear for the longest time was, well, I was making it to the end of the world. And then if I did, then the end of the world. Because the sun is, by the way, in that earlier conversation, the sun is responsible for, was for those tornadoes, for the wind speeds and stuff. That's caused by the sun, the heating of the sun, right? Temperature differentials, two fronts meeting different fronts and stuff. There's nothing to do with fucking CO2 in the atmosphere. Nothing. Man-made gases or cow farts or whatever they are. I mean, that is so, and the idea that people actually like believe that is the thing that is the most ridiculous. It's not even the statement. You know, I can make a statement here that's ridiculous. Okay, a statement, yeah, there are plenty of people making ridiculous statements all the time. The question is whether or not you believe those ridiculous statements. Okay? You know. But people actually believe that shit. 99.9% of the atmosphere is not CO2 or methane or even water vapor, so-called greenhouse gases. They have trace gases on this planet. So how are they responsible for killing 100 people in Kentucky? Tornadoes that have happened since forever. For fucking ever. They even admit, this is a fucking thing that I still don't understand. Get this through your thick fucking skulls, will you? Do you ever hear them say this is the worst storm in nearly 100 years or something like that, they'll say? Meaning that like 100 years ago, there was like a worse storm or a storm of equal intensity, right? I mean, what that goes in one ear and out the other, and the only thing people remember is, oh, climate change. Yeah, what is exactly climate change? Oh, I mean, if I take it on surface value, what you're telling me is that the climate change is changing, changes. Yeah, the climate changes all the time. The climate is not a constant. All right. We live in a solar system that's moving around a galaxy. All right. We have a planet that has axial tilt. Then it has precession. And the whole damn thing's moving around. And then the whole damn thing that's moving around is moving around. Right? You got magnetic fields, electromagnetic fields, cosmic rays, right? Plasma discharges, you know, solar ejections. I mean, natural phenomenon, cyclical events, right? Weather patterns, they call them. El Nino, La Nina, these things have been happening forever, man. As far as we know, right? I'm so tired of that. That's why I can't, you know. And you believe it. And people believe this shit. And they're actually trying to alter things to fuck up our food supply and things to make it worse. I would say that it's quite possible if anybody is responsible for that outbreak, it might be Bill Gates and some of these guys fucking around with the weather because they're actually, you know, they believe in they can control Mother Nature or something. And they're, you know, dumping shit out of the sky and stuff, trying to dim the sun and stuff. What do you... The only dim sum should be some kind of Chinese fucking dish at a restaurant. Eat with chopsticks. Dim sum. Son. Can I get noodles with that? Next time you hear Bill Gates say that or somebody in the news. Hey, can I get noodles with that, man? And chopsticks. So it's like, who made these? How did they fucking make those sculptures? Right. And these paintings, like I was talking about before, where you had this certain perspective. If you're a student of art, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, you have no idea what I'm fucking talking about. So I don't know why you're even fucking watching. But there's this perspective. And so things really kind of, there's kind of a center area. So everything kind of comes out and, so a thing stands here. This object is here, this object in a distance. And so everything is, realistic, almost beyond realistic. It's actually hyper realistic. Some of the Renaissance paintings, right? It's like that song, whatever it is. It's like more real than real. All right. You know the song that I'm thinking about. But the same with the sculptures. This one guy had this theory that they were petrified people. And that people talk about when they're afraid, I was petrified. As if some natural phenomenon or one of these catastrophic events, somehow can petrify certain people. I mean, other people are just melted. And that buildings and cities and stuff are just melted. Think about that. And so when you see a lot of these rock formations and stuff like that, they're actually just like melted buildings. And then they were getting into this whole thing. See, it's like, are you still watching? There's like nobody made it this far after I was talking about shit and stuff like that before. Because that's disgusting. I know. I'm sorry, man. Kind of. Not really. I don't care anymore. It's my show. But this idea of all these underground, the mud flood, and all these underground cities, even in the U.S., and how there's this extra layer. And in like some cities, they were trying to say, well, this is where bootleggers had whatever. But some of these things go on for miles and miles and miles, and they're just made, they're like buildings. They're like bricks, and they almost have like Roman arch ceilings and stuff and techniques that, colonial type of people weren't building, right? In the 18th century, and shit like that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Everything you know is wrong. And I guess, you could sit here, I could sit here with a suit on with some weird, curtain set on some wing chair and try to talk about this seriously and, plop up different slides and things. But the subject matter is so bizarre and so off the wall that I think it has to be presented in this way. Because there's just no other way of dealing with it. The fact that your whole life is a fraud, is a charade, right? Or a charade, as I say. I mean, the idea that everything you know is wrong is just so, profound. Yeah. I don't know. It's like kind of like shaking me to my the core. I don't know anything anymore, almost. Like, I mean, in a sense of I know all these things, but I don't know. I don't know anything, kind of. I don't know why I do anything. I don't know where I go forward from here. It's like, in other words, a door has been opened, and I don't think it's possible to close that door now anymore. You know, I see things in such a way that I could never, you know, you can't unsee a thing. You know what I'm saying? Anyone makes it this far. Nobody ever makes it into the second hour of the show, which is usually the best. I should like just cut out the first hours so on a lot of my shows. But, you know, I used to play this kind of stuff.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
But I don't know. It's beyond that. It's information overload is what's happened to me. You know, there was a song by, what's the name of that band? Too Much Time on My Hands. I forget the name of the band. Doesn't matter. You know it probably now. But like I say, these details don't even matter anymore. It's information overload. You know, there comes a point where you could just, there's only so much data that you could like fit in. This morning when I woke up, I just felt like I was a clean slate. Even my entire body. It was weird. I was just laying back in bed. And I was also having one of those nights where it was like this repetitive dream that every time I went to sleep, it was the same. It was just a continuation of the same thing. And it wasn't like a nightmare or particularly weird or anything like that. It was fairly simple and just like almost antiseptic in a sense of, you know, like, you know, clean, not in a, you know, cleanliness way, but I mean just like pure, but not in a purity way. Can't even describe it. I don't even remember it now. Because, you know, most of the time you don't remember these things. Most people don't. But what I'm getting at is that I've started to reach a point of information overload. And once you know so much and have seen so many things, like I say, you can't unsee them. And you view then reality, this so-called world, in a different light. And it's hard to, you know, in other words, and so that's where like the psychology of it all it comes into play. Because then you're confronted with the concept of, okay, well, you have to live your life, but now you've got to live your life in, you know, having this, seeing life in a way other people might not necessarily see it. Because finding these various people that do see things the way you do is virtually impossible in today's world. You know? And this concept that the only way of communicating with people is like online or something like that is ridiculous too. And the other thing about this is too, like that's the thing about it's what's good about long form discussions, even though other people just don't like this stuff, right? In a long form discussion, you're able to explore a thing, and so not everything you see or hear is completely true and accurate, and so even those presenting information, myself included, are more than likely to have, maybe made a mistake, misquoted a thing, or, or presented something that, there is a different answer or solution to, or something along those lines. But that doesn't mean that the entire thing that this person presents to you is, is nonsense or something like that. But at the same time, you might not necessarily be able to write a comment to someone whose video you watched about a specific thing, because they might not even know about that thing. That might have been something they just picked up somewhere else and they just included it in their presentation. Or you might not, or you criticize or you clarify a thing or something like that. It just doesn't work that way. And so this whole idea of information technology is just, it's not workable. It's not doable. It's not a way, it's not a legitimate way of communicating with one another. Just doesn't work. I mean, sometimes it works. But it's not, when you reach a point where you really want to know something, it's it doesn't fulfill that need. So it's pretty crazy. And so it's like, where do you go from here? He asked himself. It's like when I talk to myself.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
I don't know, man. I think everything's changed. It's like I've gone through last night. I changed. I woke up this morning and everything was different. And a door was opened. Things were seen that cannot no longer be unseen. And they're life altering. And these shows, that become this insane theater of mine that I present to you, right? That's what this is. Like that Morrison line. It's insane theater. We're all hypocrites. We're all fools. We're all, just like wandering. We're like a pinball in an old pinball machine, bouncing from bumper to bumper, and somebody using a flipper to flip us or something. It's crazy. So I don't know. It's insane. I've got this shirt on. I wear all my shirts lately. I've been like trying to wear a different one every day. Everything you know is wrong. So I'll be right back. If you stay, it might be a few minutes. It might be a few minutes. Says I have an excellent connection. Wrong one. There we go. Are you still watching? You still here? Then you're a greater fool than I. Wasn't sure if I'd make it back that quickly. Let's see. 1 minute 20. I wasn't gone that long. I could have played a song. I should have played my Christmas song. Yeah, so where do we go from here? That's the question. Where do we go from here? You know, lunacy. Speaking of lunacy, you know, I was talking to someone on the phone yesterday afternoon, and they said the moon was really bright, even though it's not a full moon. And this morning when I was coming down the stairs, because I go through this little hallway to come down the stairs, I noticed through my little stained glass hallway window where I have a little area that I could peek through. So there's stained glass on the top, stained glass on the bottom for privacy, but I have this little area so I could see what the weather's like outside. Just a little thing. It's not really a peephole because there's nothing to peep at and you can't really look down. You can almost look, you just basically get a feel for the sky kind of thing. And I looked through that thing and the moon was really bright. But it was only like a 3/4 moon or something. But it was like incredibly bright. And this is what I'm trying to say. You know, this idiot who said in the news, oh, the tornado was caused by climate change. Imagine this guy's got a job working for FEMA or some government agency, and he's, you know, spewing out that pablum, puking out, you know, such lies, right? Defecating on us, right? Well, there's no other way to say it. Understand, we're going through earth changes. This channel, ROCKFLUX, I set up 20-some years ago, and I set it up for next year, for 2022. I'm just building up to it. I don't care about this YouTube fucking thing. You know? You know, I'm going to move it over to Rumble, and then we're going to really start to rumble. You know? And we'll see what they do. We'll see if they've got the stomach for it. The truth. And the truth is nothing to do with politics, so I hate to insult you or let you down. You people that are people who have some kind of like worship of other people. You get off of that train. This planet is shaking, erupting. Things are blowing over. And it has nothing to do with a fucking gas, CO2, or a frickin' cow fart. Is it some vegan or vegetarian that just can't stand the fact that people are sitting there enjoying a juicy hamburger or cutting into a steak, right, or something, so they've got to, like, outlaw cows so that, you know. Hey, I have no desire. I haven't had a hamburger since I don't know when. I haven't had a steak even longer. Just the way it is for me. I get this tooth problem. But I know one thing. The wind isn't caused by CO2. Man-made. Man-made climate change. The ultimate arrogance of the Brits, right? The British and the Dutch Trading Company. You know? And the Middle Eastern slave traders. Right? And the African slave traders. Things that people have been erased from history. Right? People don't know who the Scythians are, the Tartarian Empire, the mud flood. I mean, that is totally screwed up. I saw the best thing, the best montage, the best collection of and a lot of them were, this was the first time ever. I hope this woman who watches, this New Earth woman, got it, is familiar with this other guy. But some guy collected newscasts from around the U.S., like local news. And here it's local news, and for some people in the city of such and such, they have no idea that just right underneath their downtown street, there's this whole other place. And you can enter it from this one building. We're going to go down, and they're going down, and there's like this under the city, underneath the city. But this is the United fucking States, and a lot of this is like from Midwestern over. I mean, those things weren't even built. See, like, you can see, the concept of Boston or Philly or something where you don't see the underground, at least nobody's pointed that shit out to me, those areas. But it's understandable that there could have been, some underground things that got buried over or something somehow. I don't know how, even on the East Coast. But like in San Francisco and areas like that, there's just no way. You can't have a city built on another city. One guy, I remember when I first heard about that, somebody was trying to make an argument saying, well, what they did was they buried, after the San Francisco fire, they buried all the rubble, everything under, and then built on top of it. But, and so some moron probably goes, oh, yeah, that makes sense. See, that guy, he's a fucking crazy person. There is no, that's the explanation for the underground. No. This isn't rubble. These are people going down, doing digs, and there's the first floor, there's an entrance, there's windows, as if an entire floor, a story, was covered with mud. And then in many of these areas, there's railroads. And people say, well, it's the Underground Railroad, to slash things. Look up the Underground Railroad. It was a terminology for people that from house to house used to help people do this, that, the other. And besides, that whole story's been warped way out of whack. The same with the Civil War. So you don't know. There's nobody alive left over from the Civil War. That's another thing people don't know about. There's people arguing over things. They're like changing textbooks, whatever, that 16-something project. Who the fuck was around then, 400 years ago? How do you fucking know? You don't fucking know anything. I mean, it's as bad as the Civil fucking War. That's 80 years ago. I mean, 180, what did I say, 80 years ago. Right? Or 100, what is it? 60, 40, 20, 160 years ago. Yeah, let me say, 160 years ago. Well, as far as I know, there's nobody alive in the United States who's 160 years old. So how do you know? You don't even know. You don't know. Well, there's some photos. Yeah, there's some photos of fucking Lincoln and a bunch of weird guys. I've got them myself. I got a picture of Abraham Lincoln. He's not wearing a beard or a hat. I showed you that. Because I'm going to get rid of some of this shit. We'll take one last look at this fucking girl. She's an interesting thing, And this guy's supposedly coming out with a paper in the February 22nd, 2/22/22, that's going to change everything we know. But like I say, who knows? I don't know. I can't tell. How am I supposed to fucking know? You can't believe everything you see, hear. But, you know, I'm a sucker like everybody else, a pretty girl with nice breasts. You know, what am I going to say? So let me just look at something here. I hate to get rid of her, but we'll probably hear from her again. Let's see. Let me look in Lincoln. Lincoln. The usual Apple, you know, dang, 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 dang. Okay, here. Rare photo of Abe Lincoln without his beard. And that was like me, basically, who wrote that, I believe. Anyway, yeah, we got photos. That's Abraham Lincoln. You didn't think he looked like that, right? That's Honest Abe. It's Honest Abe. Everything you know is wrong. Right? How long did he have his beard? Do you think he wore that fucking ridiculous hat all the time? Right? You know? I doubt it. See, you don't know any of that shit. Hey, there's a photo. It's 160 years old or more. It's probably a little older than that. That's Abraham Lincoln. That's Abraham Lincoln. Abe. It's a photo. They used to have cameras back then. They didn't have iPhone cameras. They had, you know, real cameras. You had to sit for it. You had to sit still. You know, they had a big flash though. You didn't have to sit as long when they had as they improved the flashes and shit. It's Abe Lincoln. I mean, he's got nothing to hide. He's got hair and all that shit. You know, there's nothing really. You know, he's got. You know, he's a fairly decent looking guy, right? I mean, he actually reminds me of some dude I went to high school with a little bit. You know, so he was popular with the girls. Abe Lincoln. See, this is what I'm trying to tell you. You don't know what you don't know. And even though this is just some, you know, in a minor way, you know, it's Abe Lincoln. So it's like nobody ever showed you that picture, right? You never saw that. I don't think you did. Unless you watched my show. I could show you all kinds of pictures. See, because I've been researching this stuff before there was an internet. First of all, I've been on the internet for 35 years. All right? And before there was an internet, like I alluded to yesterday, I was reading all kinds of books. I have 2 books upstairs, The History of the World, in 2 volumes, right? I even have, and there's essays in there. I didn't know that. I had collected these books for years. I bought them somewhere. Because I used to go to, like, if I would be to a strange town in my travels, I would go to a rare bookstore. And sometimes I would just find some books and I would page through them. And sometimes they would even have you know, in a rare bookstore, a bargain table or something, you know. But whatever, I might have paged through it and go, oh, these are interesting. I'll read these sometimes. And I have them on my shelf upstairs in my upstairs library. I don't have any of that shit down here. And so one time, I don't know, power was out or something. You know, there's a joke of the 21st century. Power's out all the time. It's like 1521, man. That's why the power's out half the time places. Right? You talk about industrial revolution and shit like that. It doesn't even fucking happen. In other words, you go look back at the World's Fairs and what they were putting out in the World's Fairs like 200 years ago and shit. you know, and how they were powering things. Like the Chicago World's Fair of what, 18 something or other. I mean, people have no idea. Like you have no direct evidence of the things that you say and the things that you believe. All right? Just like you've never seen Lincoln without a beard and a stovetop hat or whatever they fucking called it. You see what I mean? You just believe things because somebody told you or you saw it in a book. A school book that was put together by some kind of like administration, basically indoctrinate you, condition you to make you want to work your entire life for them. So I was trying to explain yesterday. You know, what a bunch of hooey. You know, you should be a free person. Do whatever you want to do. And if you want to do, 40 years is enough to work. I worked 40 years. I started working when I was a teenager. You know, fuck that. I got to work. You know, like I said, I was looking at that thing, that Dummkopf Wallace guy who's like going to CNN now at 74. It's like, buddy, you should have retired 20 fucking years ago, man. Right? It's like that reporter, John Roberts. He's kind of turned into a semi-asshole. He used to be a nicer guy, but, you know, he just went mad because, you know, sit there in the White House press room that long, smelling the shit from that toilet that's just right down the hallway. People don't understand that. That used to be Kennedy's swimming pool. That's what the press room in the White House is. So you don't know anything like that. I know. I've been there. And there's like a toilet right there. It's like the bathroom, which was like the swimming pool's like restroom. Yeah, it's weird. But anyway, he's been smelling crap and farts too long. But, you know, like Dan Rather stayed at CBS so long, but John Roberts should have taken his place like 20 years. Dan Rather just wouldn't retire either. He's another one of those. And the Wallaces, yeah, they were like CBS guys. It was Mike Wallace. He was a CBS guy. There was something about CBS, you know, these people would never fucking retire. Right?
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Your papers, please.
So I don't really care about these people with their papers, please, and all this other stuff anymore. And I'm going in a completely different direction with my program in the coming weeks, and like I say, starting next year. And whether or not, you know, maybe even these so-called people that believe in freedom of the press, it'll be too much for them. You know. They'll say, well, no, it's a violation of our terms of service. The truth. Santa Claus. Sometimes he gets hidden. Well, he's hidden a little bit now. So, you don't know. You don't know anything. None of us know anything. See, it's not just you. When I say you, I mean me too. Right? Everything you know. Let's move the microphone aside. Everything you know is wrong. I have like one of the greatest fashion lines. They should change my name to Versace. Versace. Yeah. So, yeah, unless you've got a direct connection to something in your lifetime, and you really trust somebody who's older who's like telling you something, you don't know anything, right? You can't say, unequivocally, absolutely, indubitably that this is true, right? You do not know what year it is. How would you know? How would you know what year it is? And who are these people, these climate change people? They don't even understand when the Industrial Revolution was. They don't even know the composition of the Earth's atmosphere. Right? They were caused by climate change. It wasn't caused by climate change. All right? It was caused by a weakened magnetic field and, solar cycles and, a grand cycle. Well, there's some scary things going on right now on the planet. We have all reason to be afraid. Those winds hit up here where I am. My fucking house was shaking. All right? I've talked to other people in other parts that, their houses were shaking. In different states, people had things like metal things blown over and stuff. Heavy metal things blown over. Okay? This isn't because of some trace gas in the atmosphere, because somebody's putting some kind of fuel in a car. See, you don't understand. These people are been trying to control and manipulate humanity for ages. Not even David Icke. For a while I was going, maybe Icke was right. But it's like David Icke, I hate to say it, Dave, but you're only half right. Because you're not clued in on this crazy shit that went down over the past 500 some years. You see, those bloodlines that you believe in and all that kind of stuff, man, that stuff's not even true. Exactly. That's like recent shit. And Ben Davidson, and gang, you got to understand there's the 12,000 year cycle that we got to worry about, this solar thing. But at this point, I'm afraid we might not make it that long, man. We might not make it that long. These things, when I read that thing that the CIA had classified for years and then declassified with redactions about this Earth cataclysm and shit. Well, it looks to me like, man, this thing might be happening. And I don't know what exactly. I haven't been paying a lot of attention to David Dubine and Adapt 2030 and stuff, because he's always talking about the 400-year thing. And I noticed that Davidson and Suspicious Observers has added like 6,000 years to the 12,000-year cycle. So he's like 6,000, 12,000, 24,000. But this 400 thing, which Dubine is talking about, he might be closest to the whole damn thing. Like somewhere in this 400 or 500 year range and shit. And this shit might be happening like right now. It's like some guy used to say, fucking now, man, fucking now. I don't talk like this. I'm an actor, okay? You understand that? My whole life, all the world's a stage, and we're merely players. I'm a fucking actor. I get into these weird things, and I do weird shit. Just deal with it, okay? All right? You get it? It's like this. I trampled a little over a mile in the cold. Yeah. It's theater. I have a show I may put up on Rumble. But I did this show that was a 2-hour performance piece. But it was like, it seemed as if it was a show. Right? But, while we're here, you know.
People, you sit there, you're in for one big surprise. People, you sit there, you're in for one big surprise. People, you sit there, you're in for one big surprise.
That's fucking crazy, man. Lincoln without a beard. I'm telling you, man, this stuff is like strange things are happening, and they're happening right now. And all of you people involved in politics and virtual reality and big tech, and you're worried about, oh my God.
Your papers, please.
And you're worried about, and you're thinking, I'm going to make money on Bitcoin or this, that, the other. Huh. Did you see the rubble of Kentucky? Man, that could be the whole fucking country could be looking like that. And then imagine it being washed over by the fucking Pacific Ocean and then being like melted down by the sun and turned into mesas. And people like the people today go, well, if there were these ancient civilizations, where's like any kind of signs of it or whatever? Well, yeah. Well, 12,000 years ago, here's what happened. First, the wind blew it to bits. Then the sun melted and burned everything, right? Including melted the rock and turned everything into glass and, or incinerated it. And the water came over and just washed it all away. And it just, after 10,000 years, it just, disintegrated. And what you see, those things, these rock formations are the remnants of of a building. These giant things that look like trees that were, 1,000 feet tall. In a different time, the land of the giants. Used to have a show in the 60s or 50s, I think it was called, or 70s, called The Land of the Giants. It's funny, all those guys that used to write that stuff, like Irwin Allen, Lost in Space and Voyage to the Bottomless Sea, and of course our buddy, Gene Roddenberry, and Star Trek. But all that stuff, people have no fucking idea, And these canyons like carved out through these plasma discharges and stuff, arcing of electricity in an electric universe through the from planet to planet stuff. Upheaval of going from a Saturnian system to a solar system where Saturn was our sun. The merging of two different systems to form the current one. People have no fucking idea. We know nothing. We know nothing. And I know I start these shows and I'm like half awake, so it's almost like you're half sober, but I mean, I'm sober. I just like half asleep when I start these things. Now I'm wide awake. I mean, I don't even know if I'll post this thing. But the thing about it, and this is what I really hate, because that thought crosses my mind. But it's like people just don't fucking understand. And, they don't like the word fuck or shit or something like that. Or you say, that little titty Congress little scenario I created while I was half awake. It's like, So what, man? You know, so what? You know, people are diverse within themselves. That's the other thing people don't understand. You know, this is a new one that like people have to start to come to grips with. When they talk about Indigenous Peoples Day in America, that's like bullshit. You know, and Christopher Columbus, you know, died in poverty, and he deserved to die in poverty, by the way, because, you know, he fucked up those people down in Central and South America and all that shit, Cuba and wherever else. Wherever him and his brother went to, they fucked up shit up. But that's not the point. There were civilizations here, and they were diverse. There were blacks, red, yellow, white, brown. Do you understand? There are animals that went extinct as little as 10,600 years ago, between 10 and 12,000 years ago in North America. So did those fucking people. These nomadic tribes of Native Americans, right, who talk about stuff, you know, through oral tradition. How far back do you think their fucking oral tradition goes? Hundreds of years? Yeah, hundreds of years. 1,000 years? Do you think the Aboriginals in Australia, all right, take an oral tradition and take it a couple of hundred years. If one word gets changed, right? If I'm telling you a story and just one word here and there gets changed every 100 years, in 1,000 years, that could be 10 or 20 words that are changed, or, you know, or the meaning of something in 1,000 years. In 5,000 years, it could be 100 some words. It could be the story could be completely changed. By 10,000 years, the story is no recollection of whatsoever of what it was. I don't care how sincere, just in these days, my great grandfather or great chiefman and shaman has said that the ant people were here and they saved us and they did this to us and they took us down and fed us underground on the mesa. Yeah, I don't doubt that your grandfather told you that, and his grandfather might have told him something similar to that. All right? But after about 10 fucking thousand years, you know, I don't know if they were fucking ant people. Right? They look more like these toroid plasma discharges and all this other type of shit that the Electric Universe folks are talking about. No disrespect to some indigenous person or what they call American Indians, because most Indians call themselves Indian. But you understand, you don't know any of this shit. I mean, they deny the Tartarians and the Scythians exist. People don't even know, like, you know, Europe, the real structure of Europe. People don't know, like, that the Pope, like, they were like Roman emperors and shit. You know, and that they're hiding all this shit, and like who the Jesuits are and the Club of Rome and how all this crap that's going on, and we're being so fucked over and lied to. You don't get it, you know? There's fucking Lincoln without a fucking beard, man. Christ almighty. You don't know anything. Nothing you know. Everything you know is wrong. You don't know what you don't know. Carlin used to do that sometimes. Game over. Right? For crying out loud. And, you know, people can't stand a person like me because I go through all these changes on the show. Right? It's like, so what? You know what I mean? Life, humanity, you know? I got the fucking secret to fucking eternal life, man. Hey. You know, and I belch on the air.
This is really funny. Really funny.
And these guys are so juvenile, they think it's funny.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, ducky. All right, man. Well, I'll tell you what. You never bought my shit, so you know what the fuck. Fuck you. Thanks for nothing. All right? Go to my site, ROCKFLUX, and go to my Rumble site, do something, listen to some music, or figure something the fuck out.